Now we come to the sarcastic part of the song cycle. Poems number 4 and 5 tell the story of Alexander Pushkin, the father of modern Russian literature, and his battles with Tsar Nicholas I. Tsar Nicholas repressed his poetry and fought with him publicly. Poem number 4 puts the poet in the hall where the grand statues of the Russian Tsars are. And the poet says, Tsar Nicholas I, what shall we say about you? You slashed at Pushkin's poetry, you butchered the Poles, and you murdered the greatest of Russian writers. That's your legacy, Tsar Nicholas. And Shostakovich set this in mock grandeur. Poem number 5, Yes, the Drum Did Beat, No, the Drum Did Beat, is reference to the manner of Pushkin's death. He was not, in fact, killed by the Tsar. He was a man who cared very seriously about his honor and slights to it, so he liked to fight duels, and he was injured in a duel and died of his injuries. But the Tsar was afraid that a public funeral for this beloved literary figure would result in massive unrest. And so Pushkin's funeral took place far from the city, in the middle of the night, surrounded by a great many police. So the poet says, what a wonderful tribute this was to Pushkin, to be surrounded by so many officers. And it was such a fitting accompaniment to his burial to have that music caused by the drums, which are the chattering of the teeth of the frightened Tsar Nicholas. So Shostakovich sets this one to a sarcastic march, which nobody does sarcastic marches like Shostakovich does. And this goes directly into the final movement, O Muse of Weeping. This was a poem that Tvetaeva wrote quite young in honor of a slightly older, slightly better established poet named Anna Akhmatova. So there's a sort of youthful hero worship going on. And again, to get the full meaning of this, we have to use the Shostakovian perspective as well. Like Shostakovich, Akhmatova had been denounced by Stalin in the 40s and had to speak out in Stalin's favor in order to protect her family. And her family went through tremendous hardship. Her only son was imprisoned repeatedly. They were very hungry to the point of starvation. But she always bore herself with dignity. She always looked down on her oppressors with disdain. She never considered suicide or withdrew from public life. And she steadfastly supported younger poets, including, notably, Mandelstam of Fluttering Eyelashes. So you can see that in the course of this song cycle, Shostakovich has surrounded himself with literary figures who've suffered as he has suffered. So it alleviates some of the loneliness as he faces death. And also that he chooses the path of Akhmatova, which is not always to resist where resistance is useless, but always to support in the face of evil that which is good. you.